we go.
All right. Okay. Well,
We are.
this is gonna work. Yeah, this is gonna work perfect. So
Hang on,
this is first time.
I better go and tidy up.
Uh, well, I had to make sure to kick my dog out so he wasn't snoring. So, well, this is the first time I've ever done this, people. Today we have Tom Martin on from England. I'm going to let him get into the details of where. Um, but I met him at No Telling the Plains in 2022. Was just happened to be sitting out at the bar, which happens a lot down at that conference. And he walked up and asked if this seat was taken. And I said, well, I know it's not. And he sat down and said, I don't think you're from around here. Uh,
This
so,
sounds a bit too much like a romantic comedy for me. So
yeah, maybe.
that's right. That's right.
So have had the pleasure of getting to meet Tom and met his father last year, George, at the conference, and they farm over in England. And so I'm just going to let him introduce himself, and we'll get into it. So, Tom, you take it away.
Yeah, it's really exciting to be here, and always great to chat to you. We always have fascinating conversations, so I always look forward to catching up. Yeah, so we farm over here in the UK. We're about 100 miles, probably about 80 miles north of London, very near to Cambridge. We're in Cambridgeshire. We farm on relatively heavy clay soils, and we're a mixed farm. We're predominantly arable cropping, so combinable crops: wheat, barley, beans, canola, and other crops as well. And we've been, on this kind of regenerative route for the last 6 or 7 years, having reduced our tillage about 30 years ago by almost eliminating the plough at that point, and just having a great time. I've only been on the farm for about 6 or 7 years. I worked for Universal Pictures before then, great American company, and had a couple of other jobs before that, between then and university. So back on the farm. Wasn't sure if I'd love it or not, but I do. Fascinated, learning every day, and yeah, delighted to be chatting to you.
Just to kind of have a little bit of context, what what's your size? What's your acreage that you guys are kind of managing, and what is that in
Well,
relation to like a average size farm in
yeah,
England?
so I think the average farm size is about 600 or 700 acres in the UK. We're fractionally bigger than that. We farm a little bit of my uncle's land next door. So we own some, and then we farm some for other people's. We kind of contract farm as well. But then equally, actually, for many years with my uncle, he's grazed his beef cattle on our grassland, and we've farmed his arable land. So we have a pretty collaborative agreement. And from a regenerative perspective, that means I get access to all that manure, which is great.
Right.
And then we, a little bit of income from the grass grazing. So and we also have a flying flock. A neighbour with brings 300 or 400 ewes on through the winter time, to put with the tups on our cover crops predominantly. So we keep ourselves relatively busy, always looking at new things to be doing, always excited by seeing what other people are doing, and trying to copy the good bits and avoid the bad bits.
Right. Yeah. And by collaborating, you're able to focus on what you're really good at, and then they're able to focus on what
Oh,
they're good at. And
the guys who have the sheep on our farm, they're better shepherds than I will ever be. So
right,
I can recognize a sheep. I can look after one pretty well, but they are, that's what they do, and that's great.
right,
It's great to have their sheep on our land. They do a great job, and we work together very well. I think I'll have input, and I'll discuss with them our cover cropping, because we can look at
hmm
the livestock needs, but also the needs of the following crop. So yeah, we have a good time. We have a good time, and if we make a bit of money, then that's a bonus. But there's been a few lean years of late.
right. Now, I know I asked you when you're at Wichita, did you ever figure out what kind of beans you guys are actually growing?
We call them field beans, but I mean they basically, we have a little community garden on our farm, just an acre, and there's a few families who kind of all work together, and they look exactly like broad beans. So,
Okay.
which are the your common or garden beans that you grow, and your pod beans. So that there'll be whatever that variety is, but we just call them field
And,
beans, and we sell them
right.
mainly to the guys in North Africa to go and make falafel.
Okay. Okay. So they're probably, we would call them, they're probably fava beans.
Could be. I'm gonna.
I'm,
We were talking earlier about how much you use the phone. I'm gonna multitask. Just show that
yeah.
men can really do that, and I'll see if I
Well,
recognize a fava bean.
I also know, while you're looking at that you do a little bit of public out. You have a page called Village Farm, correct? That's right. That's your kind of your social media handle
Yeah,
on the farm side.
that's our farm brand. Yeah, is Village Farm, and then I do a fair bit under Farmer Tom as well.
Because I know you got to appear on Country File this year for harvest, and I've seen you on other
How is my
seen
hair?
you.
Am I looking okay?
See, if you just wear a ball cap, you won't have to worry about that.
I don't think I've got one. Yeah, we did that. I mean,
Have
one of the things that we're passionate about here on this farm is helping people to see what happens on the other side of the farm gate. And so and it's very hard to bring people onto your farm especially when you're quite remote, although we do lots of farm tours, but we can do that, we can do that virtually. We use social media as well as we can, and any opportunities to get TV cameras out here, whether it's the local news talking about flooding, or we had the cameras came out for National Bee Day last year when we were looking at our bees. So any opportunity
Yeah,
to show that farmers care, that we are embracing good practice, and that we're doing a good job, a job that for people in the UK, they can be proud to buy British produce. We'll do that. So yeah, this summer it meant that we had the BBC with us for four days just filming our harvest, which is great. We had a great time.
right. Well, good, good. Is that? I'm sure I'm assuming it's pretty well received doing that stuff by the general public, but how do you find it goes with the rest of the farming community? Or I guess what is the farming community like as far as on the soil health side in the UK in general?
Well, I think our kind of impression of the farmers of yesteryear, or of recent years, is that we're kind of about, it's about one-upmanship and telling people what they're doing wrong and being critical. But actually, I find with this generation, and particularly in the area of regenerative farming, people are incredibly positive. My dad was stopped in the local shop this morning. We're 4 months on by a guy who said, "Look, I haven't seen you for a few months, but I just wanted to say that you did a great job, and it was really great to see the harvest coming in on a British farm on the TV in September." So I think people are by and large really positive, and farmers recognise that we need to do that. Now, I'd be lying if I said there weren't some people who like to see that. Oh, you look at the state of that field, or I can't believe you've grown a crop that's that poor, and all those kind of things. But by and large, people are positive. We want each other to do well, and frankly, our competitors in the UK are you guys in the States. What we're
Mm-hmm.
interested in what's going on in Australia and in South America. That will affect our prices and our profitability far more than how well our neighbour does. So we stand to gain a lot from
Right.
collaborative, and I think most people recognise that. There's a few old grumps, aren't there? But there are in every industry. I've worked in 4 industries. There's a few grumps in any industry.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. That's there's a lot of truth to that. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, and it can be whether even with just within agriculture, the different sectors of agriculture, whether it's livestock production or crop production or whatever, there's as you people who are anything that's new is wrong, and
Yeah,
anything new that you're trying is, well, you're just a hippie farmer or
yeah.
whatever. And I mean, it is what it is. And so what brought you back to the farm?
So I mean, my last job. I was working for Universal Pictures for 10 years. I got to travel the world. I got to selling film rights, but I felt like I wasn't learning. And I think I love to learn, and
Hmm.
it was the right time. My concern was I knew I liked farming, but that's not enough. I mean, you can't just like farming. Getting your liking farming doesn't get you out of bed when it's 20 below in your
Right.
case, or 2 below in my case.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right. Right.
you've got to love it. But fortunately I do. But that was it. It was kind of I was 35. I was thinking, I was living in London, having a great time, earning a lot more than I'm earning now. But it just felt like the right time for a change. Felt like I wanted the challenge, wanted to learn, and wanted to come back to the family farm.
Well, I that is a that might be the only time I've heard that answer is I wanted to learn,
Yeah.
because the stereotype is, oh well, any dummy can farm. I mean, that's just a stereotype. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, oh, there's no thinking in it. And I mean, with this modern day and age, there's the access to information is boundless.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and you,
It's one of the reasons I get to talk to lots of farmers groups around the UK, and it's one of the reasons why I say that we're in the golden age of British farming. And I talk to groups, and I see there's a few people, a few kind of snorts of laughter when I say we're in the golden age of farming. But I really think I mean, things are hard. Gosh, everyone's out to get us at the moment. If it's not the vegans, it's the government, or it's
right,
people just spreading nonsense, or whatever it is. It's we seem to be in the firing line, but the learning opportunities are huge. It's so exciting to be in
hmm,
farming at the moment. We're the answer to all of society's questions, whether it's about climate or water or air or soil or nutrition or mental health. We're the answer to all those questions. And I
right,
genuinely think I don't think there's been a point in history when people have been so fascinated and interested in farming.
right,
And
right.
sure enough,
Yeah, yeah,
they haven't got a clue. But
right,
that's because no, they don't have they don't have a relative on the farm, but they're really interested. And your television shows will be the same as ours. There's lots of. I was watching the Panthers, sadly, embarrassingly lose again yesterday, and the advert was for Farmer Wants a Wife, which is a really successful show in the States, I think, isn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah,
even down to that, even the
yeah,
dating
yeah.
shows
My wife was one.
are. So that's not a guilty pleasure of yours, then, is it? You're not tuning into Five Months a Wife, getting your weekly fix of.
Nah, no, no. I deserve, but it's, and I just, could be better than The Bachelorette or whichever one of those, but it's still just, I'll just get on YouTube. I'll just get on YouTube, or I'll go watch my history show or whatever. So,
Good stuff. Well, also, when
but like you
whilst we're
said,
on that, I've just got a little news flash. That is a fava bean. That's what we grow. So yeah, they're fava
okay,
beans.
okay, that's
You're
what I
right.
wonder. Okay, okay,
Thanks
that's
for
that's what
thanks
I
for
wondered.
thanks for
But
thanks for
you
letting
said,
me know what I grow. It's really been really helpful.
hey, do what I can. But like you said, it's difficult. Um, and I understand you grew up on a farm, but you weren't um actively the farmer. Um, did you have an eye opening when you came back, and just how difficult it is, and how it is hard to turn a profit when you came back?
Uh, yeah. Yes. Although I think my real eye opening was, and to my shame, I genuinely thought that farmers would be quite exclusive. And yet I had neighbors. There's my great neighbor Matthew, and he rang me up about 3 times in the first 3 weeks I was back, saying, when are you going to come around to my farm? I want to show you. I'm going to tell you all the things I've got wrong. We're going to go around, and I'd love to just show you what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do. And he drove me around in his Land Rover, and we looked at all the things, and he just said, this is what I didn't get this right, or this went wrong here. And I felt kind napped rather than excluded. I was kidnapped with kindness, and actually that was the thing which shocked me coming back to farming. And it's been amazing, actually, how inclusive and how keen to be vulnerable and to share what they're up to people are. So it's that's been the thing that really surprised me. And I think, probably the other thing that surprised me coming back into farming, and farming is the fourth industry I've worked in, so I've had, experience all over really, but is just how varied our industry is.
Mhm.
We've got people who will not be changed. They're going to
Right.
do what their
Right.
grandfather did, and I say grandfather because it was their grandfather, not their grandmother. But they're going to do what their grandfather did, and they're going to keep on doing it, and ain't nobody going to stop them. But equally, there
Right.
are people who are just, well, like yourself, who just are fascinated, interesting people. They're trying to do new stuff. They're adapting to the modern challenges. They're people that the consumers can be proud of. They're talking about what they're doing, and they're doing a great job, and they're sharing their mistakes as well as their successes. So, we're pretty diverse. But for as much as for as often as I hear that'll never work on my farm, I'm hearing, oh, tell me more about whatever it is, probably 10 to 1. So it's still an exciting place to be.
Well, and like you said, talk about the golden age. When else in history have we had the opportunity not have to leave the farm, not have to leave? We can be doing
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing and showcase what we're doing.
Yeah.
With the click of button,
Yeah.
and you can instantly share. I mean, it's so easy, and literally anyone can do it. I mean, if I can do it, and then anyone can do it, because it doesn't. You don't have to be you don't have to have a camera crew. You don't have to have a script. I mean, you can do it so easily. And the really fascinating part about it is people will consume the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people,
And I mean, we have a little charity called Farmer Time. There's my little prop. We connect farmers with classrooms around the UK, and they do a series of video calls. And we have farmers who are, who just like, gosh, it's amazing. The kids just are so fascinated by what I'm doing, and all I'm doing is I've just dug a hole to count how many worms I can see, or I've just
yep,
put a baked bean can that I've cut both ends off, and I'm just doing a little infiltration test, or I've set them a math challenge to see how many seeds per square meter I'm sowing in the field, or it's great, and farmers do, they're just using the phone that we've all got,
right,
to kind of communicate and share with people why they can be proud of British or American produce.
right, right. No, getting a little more back, I guess, towards kind of soil health. What has been what have been some of your challenges of adapting, say, no-till and cover crops to your guys's? Oh, yes, as they always say, it's look in the mirror. That's your biggest challenge.
Always. I mean, yeah, getting to know myself. I love doing new things, but generally means I bolt a little bit too soon,
Yep.
quite quickly make mistakes. I've got a little video that I recorded about 5 years ago, and it's me with a piece of clay, piece of soil, and it's absolutely rock solid, and I can't even break it open. I'm trying to break it open, and I'd put a cover crop in, I'd grazed it with sheep, I'd done all the no-till, I'd done all that kind of stuff. The sheep I put on there were ewes, so they were twice the weight of lambs that we now will graze on our cover crops. So our ground, our clay ground got beaten down. I put them on there too long. I put them on there when they were too wet. I didn't have the right balance of cropping of species in my cover crop. But I'd done the cover cropping, and I ticked the box of having livestock, and I was like, why isn't this working? And actually, I now could go back to my younger self and say, here's why it wasn't going to work.
Right.
But yeah, so it's me holding us back.
Right.
I don't tell
Well,
the bank manager that. That's the one thing I don't tell the bank manager. That I'm the problem here.
Yeah. Yep. Nope.
I mean,
Yeah.
the other challenge.
Well, I think
I was going to say,
that's the one.
go on.
I was going to say the bank manager might say, "Well, I see what the solution here is to remove the problem."
Yeah, that's right. Well, we've got three things affecting our profitability on farms. One is world prices. The other is the weather. Um, and I
Mhm.
suppose you could count
Yep.
you could probably then also talk about pest disease and crop establishment. But really, the third key thing after weather and world markets is me. So yeah, I'm
Right.
the variable that
Right.
I can deal with the best, hopefully.
But it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, you can go 30 miles away from where you're at, and what you're doing might not work for that producer,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and what he's doing might not work for you. I mean,
Uh,
and so there is absolutely no recipe for, because he might be able to put the ewes out on his ground, and he might
yeah.
be perfectly fine.
Well,
And
funnily enough, our village is a village of brick houses. The houses are made of bricks, made of clay, and that's
mhm,
because we're on heavy clay ground here. Now, behind where you are on the screen, you only have to go a mile, and you're into lovely, light, free draining limestone soil,
right,
where there's all the houses are made of limestone. And there's a lot of wealth because in the 15, 16, 1700s, the world wool market was significant, and that's a great place for sheep. I mean, it's literally 1 mile that way, and
right,
if
right,
it was daylight, you would be able to see in the distance two things. One is the Great North Road, which is the old Roman road, where in 1066 King Harold marched, having won the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066 September, down to the Battle of Hastings, where he got an arrow in his eye in October 1066. But just beyond that road, so probably just more than a mile to my east, you're into fen soil, where the organic matter will be 25 to 35%, where residual pesticides don't work, but where they've got lovely, light, spongy, highly fertile soil. So where you can grow root vegetables, where you can grow anything.
right,
And so
right,
in the space of 2 miles, I'm here on the really tough ground, and the guys over
right,
there are grazing sheep, are out wintering stock all winter happily. The guys over there are growing amazing crops of root vegetables and you name it. And then I'm here in the middle, and I'm okay when we have a dry summer. But apart from that, it can be hard.
right, right, right. Well, and I'm sure the guys a mile from you are going, "Oh, I got the tough ground. He's got the
Of
good
course.
ground." I mean, why did we settle here? Oh, it's so tough. He's got it so easy. Look at that
Yeah.
heavy, good clay soil, and he's got soil. That's what they'll tell you. He's got soil.
Yeah, yeah, and isn't that the case? And sometimes I talk with Dad, and Dad, but sometimes I'll chat with him, and he'll say, "Gosh, our soil is terrible. We should get another farm. We should move somewhere." And I, we kind of get to the point. I say to him, I don't think that's an option, but what we can do is try and make our soil as good as possible, and
Right, right,
that's our challenge. That's our pleasure and our journey.
right, right. Yep, yep. Um, so we touched creation. I know I seen on your social media you were planting some fruit trees. We were talking earlier. You're doing forestry slash. I guess you could almost pasture, except you're not going to pasture it. You're going to do something slightly different. But why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, some of it is we've got two fields. So one of them is a pasture field, and I put an avenue of oh gosh, what have I put in there? I've forgotten. I'm going to come back to that. Hazel, that's what I've done. An avenue of
Okay.
hazel. That'll break up the field a little bit, but also hazel, we will coppice hazel every 5 years to create the canes that we use for our hedge laying here in the UK. So but also that has all the advantages of pasture cropping. So it'll stop the wind, help break the field up a little bit. It'll provide shelter. It'll do all those things. But what we've planted in the last few weeks, either side of Christmas, is we've put 500 fruit trees in our more kind of traditional agroforestry. So we've got rows, little strips of fruit trees that are the strips are about 12 feet wide, and I planted them with a kind of nice wildflower mixture. And in that 12-foot strip, I've planted a row of gosh, I've got all kinds of fruit trees: apple, pear, medlar, green gage. You know, we have green gages in the US. They're great. Plums, cherries,
Okay, good.
you name it, or damson, all sorts. And then there's about 115 feet in between, which is the width of our sprayer and the width
Hmm.
of our fertilizer spinner. So we'll harvest in this year. We're harvesting wheat, and then so we'll harvest the wheat, and then in future years we'll be able to harvest the fruits after harvest. So one of the things we've got to be careful about is to select the varieties of apple and pear such that they fit our arable system. So
Hmm.
we've generally finished our harvest by the middle of August, and we're
Right.
generally getting pretty itchy, and we want to start our fall planting, our winter planting by the middle of October. So that's the kind of key period
You
where
got it.
I'm selecting fruit that we can harvest in that time, because I don't want idiots like me driving all over our field when I've just planted it. And I don't want to be having to get in there, running a track in before we've even harvested the crop. So
Right.
so we've been quite careful about the varieties and when they fruit. We've had kind of late fruiting cherry and plum varieties, and early fruiting pear and apple varieties. So and not with a view. I mean, there's an organisation in the UK called the Woodland Trust. So they've funded it largely, probably 80%. They funded it for us. We
Hmm.
just have to have it there for 12 years. But I don't really have a view on what we will do with that fruit in future. It's really 3 to 5 years before I need to think about that. But
Right.
in
Right.
in farming, and I think running any business, you've just got to leave as many doors open as possible. And it might be that in 5 years' time we'll say, for $20, come and pick as much fruit as you want. Or we might, somebody might say, I want to create a fruit juice business, and I'll buy your fruit off you. Or we might get some pickers in, pick it ourselves, and produce our own apple cider. Which amazingly, I should say, in the UK we don't have apple cider. The only cider we have is hard cider, or we have pasteurized
Right. Right.
apple juice. So we don't have that amazing apple cider that you guys have. Well, that'll change, because we're gonna produce some of that, because it's delicious.
There you go.
And I just come over to my
You'll
my
be the
in-laws in North Carolina, and I drink apple cider until I get a headache, and
yeah.
drink a bit more, basically till I'm sick.
So you're gonna be the apple cider king of England.
I'm probably just going to drink it all myself, but yeah.
Yeah. The numbers here just aren't adding up. I don't know what the
That's
problem
right.
is.
We've harvested this, and we've only produced this amount.
Yes.
They'll call me
I
the
gotta ta- I gotta keep tasting it. I gotta keep testing it. So
That's right. Modern day Johnny Appleseed.
yeah.
Although
Hey, he
interestingly,
was fine.
in our commercial orchards, they're pulling out a lot of fruit trees, because they're struggling commercially to make it work. And our supermarkets are really creating a really hard environment for our commercial top fruit producers. But then I think maybe we'll be very much a small scale, and maybe there'll be smaller, more local routes to market that we'll establish in years to come.
Right. Right. Well, and like you said, if you're small enough scale but large enough that you'll have options, and if the best option is a you pick scenario, then that's the best option. And if I mean you're because you're going to get as much benefit, you're doing it as much for the environmental benefit and the ecological benefit,
And
instead.
my own pleasure, because I think that's
Right.
important.
Exactly.
So
Right.
I mean, the solution might be that we let the fruit drop to the ground and do nothing with it.
Well, you bring in hogs.
No, oh gosh, I've got a picture here that I might try and share with you of my when I broke my leg tripping over a pig. Uh,
Well,
and
well,
I had,
once again, don't blame the pig, blame the guy that tripped.
yeah, exactly. I had 13 pins put in my leg. Man, I think that might be the last time we have pigs on the farm. Maybe we'll ship them out to some pigs. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Um, how are you doing on time? How much time you got?
Yeah, I've got to shoot pretty soon, but I'm less, we've got a question or two. We can, anything that's
Okay.
particularly interesting you want to pick up on?
Um, I guess just what is kind of the general feel of soil health at an industry level?
Yeah.
And I mean, is it still growing? Is it in its infancy type of thing? I mean,
Um, uh, Not probably as developed as in the US, but if your sales, if when you're selling a product, you need your customer, you need attention, interest, decision, action. We're farmers are definitely interested. We've soil health has had their attention. We're now at the point of interest, and a number of farmers, I think, well, there are a lot of farmers who are doing great, amazing stuff. Gosh, people I really look up to. But farmers in general, I think, are fully aware that we are not only encouraged by our government support, but also that we need to be taking greater care of our soil health. But they're interested, and they are, they're moving in that direction. There are a lot of, I get to give a fair few talks around the UK, and a couple in Ireland, and went across to Norway last year, just talking about the mistakes I've made in adopting regenerative farming practices, and people are really interested in that, because I think that's where they're at. They're kind of like, well, we might just dip the toe next year. So yeah,
and I
it's
know you guys do you have a big conference every year, Groundswell.
yeah.
That
Oh yeah,
what is that, a
groundswell.
week long conference?
Groundswell. Well, you've heard of Glastonbury, which is our big hippie music festival. Groundswell is basically Glastonbury for farmers. It's amazing. We go. I mean, I now go and camp out. I mean, we go and camp for 3 nights, and stay up late talking about worms. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's where everything relating to UK regenerative agriculture converges. There are a lot of other conferences actually starting up. And there's a great one which specializes in agroforestry. There's one called Carbon Calling, which is a big overlap with Groundswell. But that's been Groundswell's been going from, I guess, probably 15 years ago. I went about 11 or 12 years ago. No, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was two blokes and a spaniel in a field, wearing anoraks in the rain. But it's now a few thousand farmers and associated industries, and yeah, it's a great time. We get some of those great American practitioners over, and from other parts of
Hmm.
the world to come and talk to us.
Right,
Yeah, it's great.
right. No, that's yeah. If you've never, just get on YouTube, look up Groundswell. Um, yeah, there's lots of, they have, like I said, all sorts of different presenters, different topics. It looks like you can tell that there's some little bit of some guys look a little tired on some of their days that they're speaking. It's like, I can see that it's been a late night before. So no, it looks like a good time. That's very cool that it's gotten to that point where it is almost a festival type of thing. And
Yeah, I mean, I
guys,
spoke there a couple of years ago, which is a great privilege, a real honor actually. And they gave me the slot, which was 5:30 or 6:30 p.m. the first day, and I thought no one's going to be there. They'll have all gone home. That must be an absolute dead slot. And what had happened was most people had gone to the bar and bought their first or possibly their second beer, and the tent was full, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Everyone was up for learning and sharing what they'd got wrong, and we really had a great time. So yeah, if I speak again in future, if I'm lucky enough to do that, I should definitely say, can I speak 6:30 p.m. the
yeah,
first day when everybody's
yes,
everybody's tucking
yes,
into a beer and having a great time.
yep, yep. Nope, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Well, in closing here, I guess, what does the future look like for your operation? What are you looking at besides the orchard stuff? I mean, I know that's obviously a big future long term
Yeah.
goal and plan, but besides that kind of thing.
Uh, the future will involve growth. It needs to involve growth, and that might be in land area. Um,
Hmm.
it might well be in terms of other businesses, and bringing in. We rent out a couple of properties, and it might be we do a bit more of that. because you don't want all areas of your business to follow the world wheat prices or the world corn prices.
Right. Right.
But it may be there are other ways that we can diversify that complement our where we are here on the farm. So hopefully I will still be as passionate in decades to come and as excited. But I also hope that we will be, continuing to advocate for UK farming. No offense to US farmers, but to
Right. No,
UK
absolutely.
for British farming and for regenerative practice as well. So that's something that we love to do. Keep helping people to see what happens on the other side of the farm gate and having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I definitely understand that. And yeah, it is, sometimes it is hard to stay motivated or stay passionate or stay positive, whatever word you want to use. But I mean, anytime I've talked to you, you can tell that you are passionate about it, and you're passionate about the outreach part of it and the education. And so I definitely appreciate you hopping on this evening for you. I think it's still morning for me. But where can people find you, follow you, check out what you're doing?
Farmer Tom on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, I think we're now calling it.
Yep.
And or Village Farm. Or you just search online. So, but yeah, well, thank you for having me as well. And likewise, I always kind of bounce off our calls or our conversations because I'm invariably inspired to kind of go and look at things differently or rethink some things I've been doing probably wrong. It's when iron sharpens iron. That's what we really need. I was on a course a little while ago, and a guy said, when I'm with this group, I feel like I'm flying with eagles. He said, sometimes when I'm with other groups, either inside farming or outside farming, I feel like I'm scratching around with chickens. So, you're an eagle, buddy. You're an eagle.
I'm going to have to keep that one. I'm going to have to use that one sometime. So I like that. I haven't heard that.
UK dairy farmer David Hellier said that, and
Okay, UK dairy farmer. I will quote that.
Yeah.
So, well, no, like I said, I definitely appreciate it. If you guys are watching this, thank you for watching. This is the first time I've ever done this. I'm looking to do more of this with different producers from around the globe, as you can see. So, again, definitely thank you, Tom, and we'll chat to you soon again, I'm sure. So,
thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. If you did, be sure to leave me a comment, and we'll see how many more of these we can get done this year. I make no guarantees as far as how often these are going to happen, but I had the opportunity. I've been wanting to talk to Tom. Not going to get to see him. He's not coming over for No Till on the Plains this year, which I understand, but I'm definitely going to try and do my best to have some more conversations at No Till on the Plains in person with some different people that are going to be there. So yeah, like I said, I enjoy talking to like-minded people, and I hope you enjoyed it too, and just get a different perspective from someone around from the other side of the pond. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.